currently recording. Those of you who are new, just grab your remotes, have that trigger thumb ready on the play button. We're going to press play on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2. Hold on, sorry. I'm trying to get the time code up. And 3. Whoa, sorry. My headphones doing a few things tonight. All right.
Did
Apologies.
everyone notice that she said hi to Al? And I assume it's Al from Al's Pancake World, the elusive Al.
Yeah.
Also, high frame rate.
I didn't see it. I didn't see that high frame rate again.
How are you not seeing?
Well, just because I think that you say it right after it happens.
Oh yeah.
And then of course I've missed it, you know. But I mean, I sort of know what you're probably talking about. I can probably imagine what it looks like, but since it's already gone and I wasn't really paying close enough attention, I can't really verify. I trust that you're right, but you know.
Are you talking
about
like
super
short
open path? Yeah, it's just there's something about the the movement that is off, or it feels so. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It's just high frame rate.
Well, I mean, you know, you'll see it in the arms. If a person's walking, their arms swing at like a particular pace. And if you see that like swinging get kind of faster, you know, then that's probably high frame rate.
That's it.
And by the way, it's called under cranking when you're talking about film.
Good to know.
Look at you go right at the beginning.
I feel like this is
Dear
the
God.
longest ever.
Single
That's
card.
literally me and my best friends.
Nudge, nudgies.
Know what you mean.
The eyebrow, right?
So I don't actually
There it
say
is.
wing
There it
fingers.
is, John. The change.
Oh,
Took a whole
yeah.
bunch- Brian
Interesting.
took a whole bunch of change. Not you, but your character.
Brian went to the ATM that only gives out $3.
But I don't actually say wing fingers in the episode. Do I? Or is that coming?
I think Zach did it.
Yeah, Zach
And you just
says it.
Yeah.
I missed what you asked.
But nudge nudgies, I think, is funny.
I remember when I first told you about the wink winkers, and you're just like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, well, now I kind of I don't feel quite as bad because it wasn't my actual lie.
Lorelai just paid. Wow, this episode's like answering all our questions.
Well, he did do the eyebrow thing, so he said it with his eyes.
Those look like they were real. Oh my goodness!
Renaissance.
I missed this so much.
Yes!
We knew you'd be so
Huzzah.
happy.
Okay. There was a Renaissance Festival in Sterling, New York that I missed going to, and it was gnarly, and no other Renaissance Festival can top it. Sorry.
I love how into the Renaissance Fair he gets because he's.
If it's one thing Luke loves, it's gossip.
Which is so funny. I will say the tree for the jewelry as a hanger, genius.
I was like, is that a new love interest?
Why do you think that for every
The
interaction?
complication starts so soon.
Gosh, you all knew that there was a Renaissance fair coming and you kept it so secret. I'm very, very thank you.
We
It
sure
was hard
did.
to do. It was really hard to do.
It was worth it though for that reaction.
It's so good.
Man, I had a lot of pewterines when I was young. Just dragons and orcs and
I love it.
Does that mean you were like a goth, John?
I just was like I was a like, little fantasy nerd, you know. I mean, I loved fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, and Ren fairs, and you know all that stuff. I probably still have those. Those pewterines are probably still at my mom's house.
Send Josie to Waldorf school because they love the Renaissance fairs.
Dumb question, but this was obviously not in Europe, right?
Definitely not.
What I thought. Probably somewhere in California on the soundstage.
I would imagine that this is probably just a set somewhere there and on this on the catacombs are dope, by the way.
I love the line, bones disturb her. How do you know?
She goes there all the time, every year or something. I think this is one of the places she goes regularly.
You know, Lorelai sees this as overbearing, but I just love how Emily moves. Like, I just love watching her move.
I wonder if they're going to show Rome. This is Rome, right? Yeah.
She's so grown up now.
I would love to see. I would love to see them try and show the outside of Rome.
They're supposed to be staying across from the rooms. Ancient room.
Random question. Besides Paw Paw, what's the other name of Michelle's
Chin Chin.
Chin Chin.
That little girl looks familiar. I think she's done some dancing for Miss Patty.
Careful with the audio on the TV. That's funny.
Seems very, very cool.
Oh boy.
Tell me that's not everyone trying to fold a fitted sheet.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. I am the queen of folding fitted sheets.
I love it.
I'm pretty good at folding fitted sheets. I mean, it doesn't end up really looking that great in the end, but you know, it does its job.
I feel
Mine
like you,
looks flawless.
stand in it, put your hands and feet in the four corners. No, that's putting on a fitted sheet. Okay.
Oh my goodness, this is interesting.
The Italian.
Where's Samantha when we need her?
For real.
That is definitely the lot.
I feel like this is a very bandit centric.
Good grief.
By the way, that was a banana that I just did there. I'll tell you what that means afterwards. but just the move that I made there was very unnatural. I kind of walked forward and then curved around the door. That was a banana.
Groupies. Seeing you scoot away in the background was hilarious.
I like that dress on Lorelai.
I love that cover up.
I love that Suki's there to be like, hey, stop.
Micromanaging.
Just a wake up call.
Must be how she's coping with her fight with Rory.
That's how I always took it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if she's busy, she can't think.
I love the swing line comment.
I'm like now looking for those high frame rate shots. I was just like seeing maybe it would happen with Suki, but it didn't happen there.
Me too.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh. Oof. Okay.
But if this is their last stop on the trip, how is the letter gonna get there before they get home?
I think she overnights it.
Yeah, she probably overnights it. There's money in that in her general vicinity.
Thank you, Emily Gilmore.
Money solves everything.
He's so dramatic.
I love TJ.
Me too. I love the way TJ says "low."
It's so
Just to say
funny.
the same thing. I was gonna say the same thing. I loved it. I almost imitate.
John, do
I definitely imitated.
Hello.
So they've been talking quite a bit.
God, Michael DeLuise is so good. He's so good in this role.
Yeah, I didn't mean I didn't like him. I just think he's so dramatic.
oh, extremely.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!
If anyone wants to send me a wedding card that says you found your TJ, I would accept.
That's funny you say that because I was actually wanting to send you a wedding card.
That's right. You found your TJ.
And then
If
huzzah.
you if you DM me your address on Facebook.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
I just would have loved to have seen a little bit more of this Ren Fair.
One episode, that's all you get.
I was just gonna say, how do you know it's one episode, John?
Ooh, okay.
Sorry.
Oh boy.
Oh wow, haircut. Like real
And
haircut.
totally clean shave.
Well, it's a whole summer like.
What is with his hair?
Thank God he looks clean.
I'm pretty sure he was recording Supernatural at this.
Well, his hair for Supernatural wasn't even like this. Desperate.
Title.
Dang, the man asked 11 questions.
He's looking a little pathetic there.
These are some new Lalas. These are some very new Lalas.
Yeah, we've upgraded here, John.
The Caesar salad.
I want his version of the Caesar salad.
Did he just take your story, John?
Yes, and those two actresses, they're also the actresses who play the girls at the club as well.
Probably the same people.
Same woman that were at the club in real life.
Well, at least he's consistent.
Jeez, smooth. That little arm pet that he was doing was very creepy.
Miss Kim's like, totally not jealous. Woo!
Playing for
Someone's
Bright
being a
Road.
little
Interesting. That's cool. I didn't see that scene, so I didn't really know that moment happened.
Oh my God.
High frame rate.
Oh, no.
This was literally almost my
This
gift for my
is my introductory scene.
I love this scene.
This is colossal.
Poor Lindsay.
Yeah, but you had to see this coming.
Carl, I love that that's what you saw first. And
I will admit, Suki is the reason why I kept watching.
I love that.
That Rome trip was very short.
It's weeks later.
Yeah, I know. Just from a narrative perspective, I would have liked for them to have stayed there a little longer. Things to happen there. Kind of like the Ren Fair.
Yeah, this is how they time jump between last episode and this one instead of between seasons.
I like Kelly Bishop's hair dye job. She looks pretty good.
Despite Michelle. Despite Michelle.
Poor Bobby.
Oh god.
Oh,
This is gonna be good.
this is what made me sit down.
Oh, and so can you.
You know what?
Well, hold on. We'll get to this afterwards, but that was intense.
I just want to say that
Mom's got a mom.
Lauren Graham's eyes when she has to play angry are so intense. And I noticed that from
Her hair looks so much lighter in this episode than I ever remember it being.
I think it is. I think it is. I was just thinking.
Hannah Cockin.
I wish pale was the new tan.
So does my husband.
7 weeks.
Did she just hit Luke's chest?
Yes.
Twice.
Awkwardly. Just remember,
Oh,
Rory
I have a
doesn't
nice
know any.
parallel for after.
They're pulling at Jez and Rory.
That's what I was
it's
thinking too.
exactly the same as when Jess and Rory.
That was
Except-
gonna be
Has their
my
first kid.
thing. Thanks for
Except
ruining
Laura
it.
Sorry,
knew
Todd.
what they were doing. And Rory has no idea what they're doing, but Lorelai knew what
You're ruining it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
These are my favorite moments.
The presentation of that was always so weird to me. Anyone else?
Yeah, I want to actually talk about that
Work.
afterwards because I feel like I thought that he was giving that to her, but I guess what the idea was that he was asking her to hold that while he got the thing out of his pocket.
Yes.
Yeah. I love when one of the actors just has like business or lines with what is clearly background talent and is not allowed to speak back, because obviously if they do, then they cross the line into actual talent that needs to be paid on a different rate. You can always just tell the background talent just sort of nodding. The same thing happened in Dosie's Market with the background talent that was listening to Dean talk to her. You know, she's just nodding, not crossing that line.
I always find that very entertaining.
Yeah, it's fun.
These front doors are always so flimsy.
Yeah, they look like they're made out of styrofoam.
She didn't dump him. His shirt is so wrinkled. It is killing me.
He going through it.
Yeah, those doors really look like they're made out of cardboard. Oh wow, this is very pretty.
That's scary as hell.
Very It.
Yep.
And the music is super different. It's like a total tonal shift.
Okay, Lorelai.
That was a joke.
That was a good joke of what's really going.
So funny.
You know what's funny is that girl really does kind of look like.
I was thinking that.
Who,
too.
Rory or Emily?
Rory.
Rory.
The old lady is Maggie. You can totally hear it in her voice.
Okay, random question. Someone, not all at once, someone tell me something associated with Gilmore Girls up until this point, no spoilers.
What?
I'm confused what you're asking.
Okay, so I'm making something and I can't say what because I'm not finished yet. And I need something associated with Gilmore Girls that is not a spoiler for John.
Casablanca.
Before we get into that, let me start getting these folks up onto the couch, and I sort of need
Okay.
need a little bit of quiet while I do this.
Oh, you're totally fine.
All right, so let's see here. Stacy, Anna, and read a book, which I know is Curry. Stacy. Where is Stacy? Stacy, where are you? There you are. It's really like playing Where's Waldo. This whole process.
I guess we could help
Stacy.
you look.
Come on up, Anna. Come on up. And Curry, where are you? There you are, Curry. Come on up. And then let's see here, Jennifer, Regina, and Jennifer. Let's see here, Jennifer. I'm not seeing a Jennifer. Oh, there we go, Jennifer, down below. And Regina. Regina, there we go. All right. And Lindsay. I suppose you guys could all talk amongst yourselves.
Lindsay, I would
It's
just
not-
like to say, I'm so sorry that Dean did that to you. That's so crazy. How dare he?
Oh gosh.
All right.
We are.
Is this really what we represent?
And wait, Curry, have you taken the invite?
She's still down there. Oh,
There she goes. There she is. Great. All right, so I'll just add these. Stacy.
So I would just like to say,
Anna?
speaking on the fact that this is my introductory episode, it's actually one of the biggest reasons why when I started showing up at Clubhouse, like in this group, I said I like a fight. It was kind of like a hint to what my introductory episode was. I don't know if anyone caught that.
And then Shauna, Jessica, Sherry. Oh, Shauna.
I think you have the wrong Jennifer. I didn't ask to be up on the couch. Just FYI.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me drop you down. What is there another Jennifer here?
On the bottom row.
Yeah.
Followed by.
Yep, there it is. Sorry. There. Yep. Jennifer, come on up.
John.
and-
Carol, there's a lot of fights in this show.
Thank
Carol.
you.
Could have been
Sorry,
a lot. Guys, John, Sherry.
That's the most
He
followed.
doesn't want to come up.
Okay, Sherry, no. Okay, great. I will not charge Sherry then. Invite to speak.
Actually,
Like-
John, our baseball game ran long and I was not able to watch the episode. So is there any way I can not, I thank you very much for picking me, but, or for randomly picking me, but I wanted to cancel, but I couldn't figure out how to cancel in the app.
Oh, okay. No,
As a
no
matter
worries.
of fact, the app actually logged me all the way out and almost didn't recognize me, which has never happened before. So I don't know if other people have had hinky problems with the app today, but you can still charge me if you need to, but I
can fix it. I can fix it.
Okay.
No worries.
Yeah, you can bump me back down to the bean bags.
Yeah, no worries at all. No worries
Okay.
at all.
Thank you.
Oh, snap, Chris, you're right. Like there are two sets of men who fight. I guess I didn't count them because when, I watch Gilmore Girls, I think of the Gilmore Girls.
Oh, I'm up here. So yes, Carl, I remember when you said that when you joined. I've been waiting to get up here just to answer you.
Where's Zach? Where's Zach?
Zach couldn't get in the room
Couldn't get in.
earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, Zach couldn't get in the room.
Oh,
All right.
John, try
He
pinging
might-
him if he's.
If you can ping him as a moderator, he might still be on Clubhouse.
It looks like he's online. So
Okay, let's see here. Ping him. There we go. Come on
Why
in,
is a
Zach. Come
moderator
on.
though?
Come on in, buddy.
Yeah, he shouldn't have to necessarily be as well.
What a bum. What a
Some
bummer.
of us have tried to ping him
What a
before, it
bum.
didn't work.
What a
What
bum.
a bum.
Yeah, I
bum.
tried to ping him too and nothing was happening.
What a freaking bum, that guy.
So back to my
and
question.
then Sabrina W, I'm trying you one more time, but I'm guessing also Sabrina W probably wasn't able to get into the room
Oh,
because she's also not here. And she usually is.
I don't-
So, all right. So the only folks that are still on the reserved list are Zach, Sherry, who asked not to come up, Double Diana, and Sabrina W. So we can start.
Can
All
we
right.
call you Double D, Diana?
please don't. Please don't.
What?
Okay.
Yeah, so that process is a little clunky. I need to sort of think through it a little bit. Whether that be like you guys are all chatting while I'm doing that. I don't really know. Obviously, there's just a little bit of friction there with just the fact that we have two platforms. You know, we have Clubhouse and then we've got the app. So
John, what if you
We'll figure
change
it out.
it to what if you change it to where you can only reserve up to 10 minutes before the start? That way when you open the
yeah,
room,
that's
the
that's
reserve-
definitely what I'm going to do. I mean, tomorrow we'll start you'll have to reserve up to 10 minutes. Like it'll basically the room will open and I'll automatically begin the process of bringing people up on the couch. That'll get us to where we need to be with 5 minutes to spare where we can chat a little bit. But like, you know, it's still a little bit clunky. I'm trying to think maybe I'm going to try next time having folks raise their hand when I ask for them. And maybe I'll, you know, and then also just this post-show discussion, you know, it's just a little bit like, because we had to sort of stop for a second. We don't usually do that. We just like launch right in, which kind of keeps the momentum going. And certainly for our recording, you know, it sort of like kills a little bit of the experience for people listening to it, that they like, you know, have to hear a little bit of a process of me bringing people up onto the couch. So, you know, we're learning, we're figuring it out. We'll get there.
Rome wasn't
This
built in a
episode-
day.
Can I ask?
No, Rome was not built in a day. But let's talk about the episode. You know, I would say it was
Oh,
a good episode. You know, it wasn't like I mean, there's definitely stuff to talk about. I would have loved for us to spend more time in that Renaissance fair, I guess, is and like really kind of get the real taste of a Ren fair. But I guess I can accept the amount that we got.
I think the characters wouldn't really fit in there. It would have had to have been a focus really on just Liz and TJ, because none of the other main characters would really fit in that surroundings.
What do you mean? Like what main characters?
Well, I mean, if you want more Ren Fair experience, you're going to need to have more situations occurring inside the Ren Fair with more characters. So Lorelai and Rory.
Not necessarily. I wouldn't need that. I could have just done with like maybe a little bit more dynamism in regards to like the way that those scenes, like all of it just took place like at that little booth. I feel like they could have figured out a way to get like Liz and Luke walking during some of that, like, you know, little discussion there. And we could have then maybe just seen a little bit more. It's just, you know, I mean, it's obviously that's money, right? Because then you're just creating a scene. You're just creating all of this like stuff around just for a little scene that probably doesn't need it. I mean, you're right. Like if they wanted to really spend money on it, they would probably need to have some of those other characters, which wouldn't really fit in there. But, you know, it felt small. And I guess I'm just, you know, somebody who has been to plenty of Ren fairs, you know, in my day. You know, Ren fairs are just like a big boisterous experience. It would have been nice to have at least felt it a little bit more.
I don't know why Taylor never decided to have a Ren fair in Stars Hollow.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Stars Hollow is a Ren fair type town. Would you say?
Babette, Miss Patty.
Babette, Miss Patty.
I was just gonna.
I
do
feel
that.
like Taylor would be up for anything that like stimulates the economy of Stars Hollow.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
But what's great about the Ren Fair is that it has a Stars Hollow quality in that it's got that small town feel where everybody knows each other's business and it's gossip and it's, you know, news moves around the Ren Fair the way it moves around Stars Hollow. I thought that was.
Yeah, there is a. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there is something about Ren Fairs that is a little kind of. It does overlap with like classic rock and that aspect is probably not so much Stars Hollow. Like when I think of Ren Fairs, I also start to think of like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and laser light shows.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting math right there.
Why?
I
mean it's like, you know, I mean that during the 70s, there was a lot of that crossover. Dungeons and Dragons, like kids who played Dungeons and Dragons back in the 70s were typically also really into like classic rock, and you know, I mean, and also a lot of that music, you know, kind of pandered a bit to that particular set.
Okay.
And they went to the planetarium, smoked something, and watched the laser light show.
Exactly.
Hey, John, before we move on, I'm so sorry that I'm interrupting, but in lieu of the technological issues and stuff that we've been dealing with, I've been chatting with Lily and she told me that she reserved to be up on the couch for this episode, but I believe that was before you went into the app and fixed something, bug or something, and now her reservation is gone.
Oh no.
Anymore.
Well,
I'll
I'll bring Lily up, and then I'll just charge Lily manually, which, you know, we can do at this stage because we're a small enough community. Come on up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
God bless.
Sorry I interrupted, John.
I think the
same thing.
And you know, look, I mean, here's the thing: is that the you know, I was actually chatting a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the app during this, but I was chatting with Regina today. Regina mentioned to me that she harvested for an episode yesterday and then noticed that it didn't actually show up in her list of harvested episodes. But Regina, you know, just the Regina that we know took a screenshot of the phone as it was showing her like the little, you know, how many kernels that you've earned, right? So she had that proof. So she sent it to me and was like, hey, can you check the database and just make sure? And of course, sure enough, like there was no harvest, and she did have the proof that there was. So I was able to go in there and manually add it to there. Here's the thing is that, like, because we're growing and because this is a really, really, like, you know, young project that, you know, I'm sort of like figuring things out as we go, and the technology is, like, you know, pretty immature at this point. Problems are gonna happen. One problem that could happen is that everybody on the stroke of harvest time, which I've heard folks like at like 8:15, people are like, harvest your kernels, and like everybody runs to the app and they all harvest literally at the same time. I looked in the database and there's like 20 harvests that are all like 1 second from one another, and they're all at 8:15. So it's like very clear that people are like instantly going there. That could cause the server to just be overloaded with so many that like 1 or 2 slips through the system, right?
Speaking
Which
of
means that. What's up?
8 minutes.
8 minutes what?
Total harvest.
Right. Well, be careful. Be careful with that. You know, this is a good lesson to learn. So I would say if your streak means something to you, and if your And if you're, harvesting your kernels really means something to you, then I would do what Regina did. Take a screenshot. It'll get the time at the top of your phone, right? Which will be a good little verifier. And it will show how many it is. And if you notice that, wait, I didn't get that. It's not in my harvest, which it should be like 99% of the time, but it might not be every once in a while, right? Then you can send me that picture. I'll take a look. And if it's not there, I'll add it for you. Now, obviously, we're small. I can do that. I would do it within the day, because if you go a full day without doing it, then the system will think that you missed a harvest and then your streak will get broken. But, do some of that kind of stuff. As the project grows, it's going to be harder for me to do that. I get a lot of DMs from people. My DMs are pretty full with folks asking questions about the app, and I do my best to try and answer as many as I can. Eventually I think that I'll probably have some sort of much more formal support system with like ticketing and all of that. But at this point, we're small, and I can look at these things quickly. I got it fixed for Gina. If you don't have that proof, it's a little bit harder for me to do that. If you do DM me and say, I don't have that proof, but I promise you it happened, I can, I'm going to take you at your word, and I'll help, try and make it right for you. That's sort of the benefit of being a small.
So we should.
Speaking of, what's the best way to get a hold of it?
What's up?
I was saying we should use the other 29 minutes of our 30 minutes of harvest time, not just the first one.
Yeah, I was going to say there's 30 minutes of harvest time. So maybe help out just a little bit and just hold off. Maybe do it on the third minute. You know what I mean? Just to make sure that first minute isn't just jam packed full of folks harvesting. I get it that it can cause people to maybe forget, but anyway.
Thank you so much.
I got a question.
Yeah, John, I have a question about streaks, but after we're done talking about that.
Yeah, let's do it afterwards because we want to talk about the episode. So, I think the biggest thing to talk about is the Lindsay fight and that moment there between the mom and whatnot. For me, I feel like that's the biggest moment.
She gained her wings when she threw those clothes out the window.
Actually,
what?
the hockey stick gained her.
He deserved that embarrassment.
Period.
Well, I think the hockey stick gained her, because I honestly feel like that went a little too close to the camera. If you saw.
Oh, when she threw that hockey stick out?
Oh yeah,
She
that's
threw,
3D.
she threw everything out. She was just throwing it.
Everything must go.
But no, with what Suki said, I always get to hear about things, and I never get to see them. I'm totally with her, because whenever I hear about things happening, especially when I was in high school, I would always hear about it. I never got to see any breakups or fights, except for probably the second last day of my senior year, of course. But yeah, that was probably my favorite line from Suki.
So remember in that episode where Dean and Rory were talking in the alley, and somebody said, "Why are they in the alley?" It's because they were by Dean's apartment, and if they stood out in the street, then Lindsay might have seen them talking on the street. So they had to hide in the alley.
How can you be sure that they were by
their apartment? Right in that same area, it appeared to be. I'm just saying that was my theory as to why he pulled her into an alley, because otherwise there's no reason to pull her into an alley. So they must have been near his house, or his apartment or whatever. That's just my.
Yeah, in that scene, he said, Lindsay. I'm pretty sure you're talking about the scene where he says Lindsay doesn't want me to talk to you. So yes. Regardless, I think he was trying to make sure they're not seen.
I couldn't say it then because then that would have given away that he lived on the street in an apartment. We never had seen the apartment before and all that. I was trying to avoid spoilers. So
scene with Lorelai and Lindsay's mom makes you want to feel so bad for Rory because of how intense Lorelai is getting. That was just fantastic. I could have gone with her going a little bit farther. I think Carl would probably agree with me on that, but
yep.
Lorelai could have really got at Lindsay's mom but you know.
You know what?
But I
They
don't
both
fault
kind of deserve
Lindsay's mom.
embarrassment. And
But
I don't fault Lindsay's mom at all. I think the
That's the
only thing
hard
that I
thing.
wish could have happened, but I know it doesn't fit the theme of Gilmore Girls, is if like
Right?
Lindsay, just Lindsay just I don't know, just yells at Rory, or at least directly speaks to Rory about like some last word she gets with her. And then it's just like a stab to the heart. And then she walks off. Like, I know, I wish it.
Make you think that Lindsay sees the issue as Dean and not Rory.
Yeah.
She yells at him and says, I hate you. She doesn't actually, like in the whole fight, she doesn't mention Rory's name. And even when she meets Rory, she doesn't like attack her or anything. Her mom's attacking all the way. But I read that as Lindsay actually sees that the issue was Dean all along.
I mean, Rory
I
had
saw
a
the
hand in
same.
it, yeah. But
I agree with you, Mary. I saw the exact same.
Yeah, that's why I said that it wouldn't fit the theme, because it just feels as if like Lindsay knew that Dean played a hand
She read
in
the
it.
letter. She knew
She
Rory
also
was
read the
credited,
letter.
so she.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and I feel like this really shows a good dynamic to what I kind of interpret as like the dynamics between Lindsay and her mom. Like Lindsay's mom really seems very controlling. I'm not saying I blame her for this interaction or anything like that. She's sticking up for her daughter, but I feel like we see a lot of times where Lindsay's mom is very controlling. And so I feel like with Lindsay, was very hard for her to be in that situation because her mom just frequently takes control.
Yeah, she was way too involved in the relationship.
100%.
What's really striking though too is about that scene is that it's just the moms talking. It feels like, your kid beat up my kid on the schoolyard type of thing. It's not even, it's like the two adult women who have made adult choices are like rendered to children. Now they're children because their moms are fighting it out. And I always think that's so interesting that like these two young women are in a very adult situation that they aren't prepared for.
Well, I feel like even though obviously we all know that Lindsay, even though she like full on yelled at Dean, I feel like if Rory and Lindsay would have talked, I don't think it would have been like in that situation because, well, Lindsay's mom was insane. But I feel like if they would have talked, obviously Lindsay would have probably given her 2 cents on how she felt about the whole thing. But like we've said before, Lindsay was mostly mad at Dean. She obviously would have been mad at Rory because, it takes 2 people to have sex. But I honestly feel like she would have been like, why? Like, why did you have to do this? I don't think she would have yelled. She would have definitely been upset, but I feel like she would have been like, look, I'm mad at you. You know that, but I'm mostly mad at Dean. And I think they might have like had like a better talk than we all think, probably. But that's just my theory, because Lindsay's not the type of person to have a confrontation.
I absolutely agree with the fact that Lindsay, I believe, of course she's angry with Rory, but I think she realizes that the bigger problem is Dean, because we've seen their marriage. It's not like they had a perfect, happy, storybook marriage. They were having problems already. So, while what they did is horrible, they were only married for like 5 minutes and they had a pretty contentious marriage up until this point. I mean, they were having big issues. So I think she is more upset with Dean.
Yeah. Of the 4 people there, I felt the most for Lindsay. Like that.
Same.
That was the character of the 4 of them there. And then probably next would have been Lorelai.
Yes. Yes.
And then it's a sort of toss up for me between Lindsay's mom and Rory, although I'm sort of leaning Lindsay's mom is a thing. Like I feel the least bad for Rory in the situation. I also wonder why she needed to write that letter now. Like, why did she have to do it from Rome? You know what I mean? Why couldn't she have gotten back?
Because she didn't want to have to see him and have to see his reaction face to face, because you saw how weird he got with even Lorelai giving it to him, and that was already so uncomfortable for her. Like, imagine Rory giving it to him, and he would have been like 10 times as awkward, and she was just like, give it to him while I'm not around, let him process it. And so when I get back, it'll be taken care of.
Yeah, she wrote a letter to Dean before too, like with the whole Jess situation. I feel like that's what she does.
Yeah, I was just gonna point that out. It was Stacy, great minds think alike.
Yes. Right after it happened, she called Dean to meet at Miss Patty's. She tried to talk to him. It happened again. So it was easier for her to write him a letter while she was gone so that she would not have to see him, because it probably would have happened again. And she wanted to make it clear that she didn't want it to happen again.
That's a good point.
Yep.
And it kind of seems like if Rory would have said no, he would have been like weird about it.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah,
tell my reason?
I don't know. I see it a bit of like, I feel like she uses it as a coping mechanism to not actually have to face her problems. Like, we know that she's quite eloquent with her words and writing them down, and it just seems like it's an easy out for her.
It's not necessarily a bad thing though. Some people are better on paper. I know I am.
Well, and I think Rory's just one of those people too, where she's not used to things that can't be fixed. She has a hard time, I think, like with letting go, and accepting sort of like mistakes, and is constantly wanting to fix them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that I'm with Nikki on this one though. I feel like there was a little bit of a cop out here going on for Rory.
She doesn't like confrontation.
Yeah.
Bit of a callback to Lorelai leaving the note for her mom when she was having Rory.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow. That's
mother-daughter kind of thing. She's like, yeah, I don't want to tell you face to face.
She also doesn't actually.
That's
great. She doesn't also break up with Max. Like, I mean, they all kind of run away from.
Yeah, he left that man. She ghosted him.
Yeah, that is a
quickness.
That is a Gilmore trait. That is a Gilmore trait for sure. At least for those two characters, for sure, that is a Gilmore trait. Like
Emily too.
It's a little selfish. You know what I mean? Like, actually,
it's
not a little
lot
selfish.
It's
a lot
very
selfish.
Going back to that, it's not. It is, yes, but someone in here, whether you're on the couch or not, can probably agree with me. Sometimes it is needed.
Well, for the person, which makes it selfish. I mean,
not for the person. What if the person's a creeper?
Right.
Yeah.
Extremely controlling.
Yeah. I mean,
I think the Gilmores do it more often, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the examples that we're laying out here, which would be, well, I mean, at least Max, doesn't seem like he was, a stalker or creeper. And if she felt like, I mean, I don't think that Rory feels that way about Dean. It really feels to me like she just doesn't want to have to face it. And that just feels a little selfish. And it ended up like biting her. You know what I mean? It really ended up coming back to her because she didn't need to write that letter. And the fact that she did, I mean, also it's just like, you put something out there like that, there is a risk that letter will be found. She's sort of created this piece of like, she's created this evidence that can be found. You know what I mean? And she didn't need to do that.
You know what?
I almost feel like she does it too to like try and absolve herself. Like, she's like, I'm the bigger person. I wrote this like beautiful apology letter, and like, so now I'm like, I don't have any guilt on me. I'm good.
Yeah, like I really feel like, especially with the letter, to give it to Dean and the fact that Lindsay found it so fast, it's like I feel like Dean just left it out in the open on purpose. Like I feel like that may have happened, but of
it was
course
an
it's a
instruction.
theory.
Wait, guys. Listen, Linda.
I get that reference. Oh my gosh.
Oh, jeez. Me too.
Man, it's
okay.
such a bummer. I'm watching Zach opening up private Remarcus rooms. Like I can always see when somebody like Sherry did that when she couldn't get in. I can always see somebody who's like they're just trying everything to get into this freaking room and they just can't do it. And that's just breaking my heart.
You
right
have
now.
to create a new account. That's the only thing I found that works is to create a new account.
Some people are easier to write a letter than they are to like be face to face. Some people just are able to just write it down a whole lot easier than it is to. I'm one of those people who I can just, if I've got something to say, I can write it down really well. But if I'm standing in front of your face and it's really important for me to say, I'm going to sit here and stutter and just make a complete ass of myself, trying to say what I need to say. And most of the time I end up saying it wrong. And so
that is actually a very fair point. But I also sort of feel like, maybe Rory could have waited till she got back and given him the letter herself at the very least and been like, hey, can you take a read of this? I also think that like there is something to be said for like you write it out on paper and then you sort of memorize it, or to a degree you read it enough that you can then not have a situation where you're having a hard time saying it, although maybe that can also be difficult. But I just think that there was something about how she really needed it to happen now while she was in Rome that sort of felt to me like it wasn't necessary. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
I think it goes back to the point that was made that she probably didn't trust herself to be in his vicinity. She wants to bow out gracefully, but past experience has shown her that when she's with him, her mind gets clouded and she does things she doesn't want to do, or that she doesn't expect herself to do.
I think she could have. I was just
Yeah,
gonna say, I think she could have made a carbon copy like Graham.
Hey, by the way, folks, really quick, just I want to remind everyone, this is really great. We've got a smaller couch than we normally do, so the conversation is really jumping around nicely. Some folks are flashing their mics, and something I saw earlier tonight, which I thought was really cool, was some folks were flashing their mics, and it seemed like others kind of noticed, and rather than like the typical like calling on somebody to speak, I could sense the room could sense that somebody was flashing their mic and they just kind of held off speaking for a second so that person could then feel comfortable jumping in. So I would just ask you all, just especially tonight, since we're kind of playing with this idea of everyone paying colonels in order to be up here, be sensitive to that. If you see folks that are flashing their mic and you have spoken already enough, I would ask that you just hold off for a second and see if the room can quiet enough for that person to feel comfortable speaking up. And if you do speak, be sensitive to the fact that there are others who want to speak. So try not to spend too much time on a particular topic.
I had a quick question. Who was the person that pointed out about the letter that Lorelai wrote to her parents when she had Rory?
Lily.
Lily. Okay, thanks, Lily. And also that really got me thinking, because if we remember, the song that was playing when she delivered was 99 Red Balloons, and then the red balloons were above Rory.
Oh my god.
Right?
What?
That was like a parallel that I thought was kind of weird.
What? That is definitely.
Who said that? 'Cause I can't see who's
Good one,
talking about
Stacy. It was me, Stacy.
Everyone needs to tip Stacy, guys. That was awesome.
That is brilliant, and there's no question that was planned. Like, there's no way that they just put in some red balloons. Like, that was definitely, because that moment was weird. You know, it was like red balloons. Like why is it important that guy's balloons that happened to be like knocked out of her hand? Like, why do we need to see that in that moment? And it feels like that was absolutely, that was a throwback.
And the music was weird too, compared to normal.
And the music was real weird.
No wonder I didn't recognize it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Stacey, because I thought of that after like I don't even know what number we watched, but I was like Red Balloons. And then I thought of the song 99, Love Balloons. And then Lorelai having Rory.
Have at it, Shauna.
Okay. So you guys remember that when when Jess and Rory got into that car accident, and she wrote a letter to Dean then, and then of course she handed it to him, but she wrote a letter.
Yeah, but she was standing there and listening to his response. She didn't just give it to him and run away.
Right. But I mean, what I'm saying is that she wrote a letter then too. You know, I mean, even though she didn't run away at that time, but I'm saying that that's how, you know, to me, it looks like maybe that's how she communicates.
Yeah, but she,
you know,
with Dean specifically.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
She could have done the same thing. She could have handed him a letter when she got back.
Cindy, you sound like you are in a transistor radio from like the 1920s.
Yeah,
It's very hard to
radio.
understand.
Cheap.
But
I saw
Charlie
flashing.
So I was just gonna say on that to respond to her, but I think she popped out. I think somebody else said it, but I want to reiterate it because it is something where I think she had to give it to Lorelai to give to him because she knew that if she saw him, something may happen again. Because when he went over there the night that everything happened, he knew what he was doing when he went over there. So when he yells at Rory, I don't think that's right because he totally knew what he.
And when she called him and said, we need to meet or we need to talk, he knew what was coming and he did it again.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my thinking. Like if she would have seen him again, who knows what would happen.
Yeah, but
their little interaction at the end, I kind of feel like, yeah, like Dean was taking some of the blame and that's good. But I also feel like, yes, it takes two people to have an affair. But I feel like he was putting a little too much blame on Rory. And I feel like when guys have affairs and guys cheat on their wives or girlfriends, they put most of the blame on the other person, which I find really stupid because, yeah, like it takes two people and things like that. But I feel like Dean in the situation kind of just was like more angry, not the fact that he did it, more the fact that he got caught. And I feel like while we're all still mad at Rory, and so am I, he put too much of the blame on Rory. And he was like, I was married. I feel like an idiot. Like, and I went after a girl who dumped me once and then bailed. And I was like, dude, like, this was your whole idea. Like, you're the one who decided to say F you to my wife and continue your relationship, continue your friendship. And you went over to Rory's place. You kind of initiated the start of this and all that. So it bothered me that he kind of nonchalantly put most of the blame onto Rory when in fact he's the one who started all this. Rory obviously partook in it, but like this was mostly Dean, and I find that really annoying when guys do that.
Do we put all of the, are we okay with that idea that like she can't give him the letter herself because if she did, then something would happen between them? Like,
yep.
Are we do we sort of accept that that's okay, that Rory doesn't have the ability to be like, no,
it's not okay.
I don't think it's
No, it's not okay. I think it's just coddled.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think if you have, if you, I like, if you've experienced it, there are some people that you get around and you just, you don't do what you intend to do. Like you have an intent. It may not be that something happens, but the conversation may not go in the way that she wants it to go. She may not be able to to phrase her words or say the things that she wants to say in the same way because she's around him as she can in a letter.
But she could just hand him the letter.
But you saw how he asked 100 questions to Lorelai.
Right.
Imagine how
Yeah.
he would ask of Rory, and she has to keep holding back and not answer him. So I think it would have been.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I'm just like, I guess there's a part of me that sort of wishes that. I think if we're just talking about humans and human behavior, like, yeah, like that people do that, and we gotta accept that people do that. You know,
This is Gilmore Girl.
But there's a part of me that does want Rory to be stronger than that.
Hey, John. Considering the DM I sent you, which I don't know if you've read it or not, I have such a viewpoint on this, literally this entire storyline, and I can't say what I feel about it.
Well, here's my question: why not? Why is it something that you feel comfortable sharing in a DM with me, but you don't want to share with the rest of the group?
Because it's more of a real life situation that I feel would be a little bit more controversial than discussing about it in a TV show.
Right, but if it's controversial,
well, I mean, it's not controversial as in like I'll be like damned to hell.
Thing that you don't want recorded.
Pretty much.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
Well, you could stay till after the after show and share.
Oh no.
Kendra's been flashing for a bit.
Kendra?
I always walk away from this episode with this question. If Lindsay had not found that letter, do we think that Dean would have actually ended his marriage with her? Or would he have stayed with her and kind of drug Rory along and kept her on the side too?
Well, wait a second. Do we know for sure that the marriage is over? Now, wait a second.
He's at his
Her mom's
house now, and according to
I mean,
her mother,
you all know whether the marriage is over.
well,
but I'm saying whether I
Lindsay's
should.
mother, she ruined lives, and Dean's with his parents now, and Lindsay is destroyed. And,
Yeah.
I mean, but I've always left this episode with that question, and I have no clear answer for it.
I don't think he would have left Lindsay.
I don't think
I think option 2. I don't think he would have left Lindsay, at least not right away.
I think he wanted the best of both worlds.
I think so too.
The life he always wanted, like, you know, to be married and have children and to have a life like his parents had. But clearly he has always loved Rory. He never didn't love her. Right before the wedding, I mean, the night before, he was, you know, drunkenly expressing his love for her. So I think he would have drug her along as long as she would have allowed it to happen.
Well, I think the last episode kind of shows that, because it happened twice with Rory and he was still pretending everything was fine at home. It's not like he had a conversation with Lindsay. Like now, this fight today, he's like, maybe we can go get counseling. Like, why weren't you thinking of counseling before you slept with a woman for the second time? Right? So I don't think he would have. I think last episode shows that he probably would not have done anything unless his hand was forced.
Yes.
Man, it's so interesting how much Dean has changed in my eyes in such a short period of time.
We've been waiting for it.
You've been waiting for it, Tasha, for sure.
He got caught. I have a comment from somebody down in the audience.
Let's hear it.
Kelly's thoughts are that Rory couldn't control herself because in her mind, it's her Dean. And that is part of the fight that her and Lorelai have after the first time they hook up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say it again. I think I.
So
only
Kelly
got half.
says that the reason she doesn't, either talk to Dean one-on-one or at least give him the letter is that she can't control herself around him because in her mind, it's her Dean.
It's her deed, meaning that she's
her Dean.
Oh, it's her
Dean.
Oh, yeah,
It's her
Like a
Dean.
Jimmy Dean sausage. Dean.
Yeah, like a Jimmy
she
Dean.
owns
Jimmy
him.
Dean.
Like,
Oh,
remember when she said he was mine first? And
Yeah.
like she
Yeah.
feels like that because she dated him first, he's still hers if he
That's
wants
right,
her
yeah.
and she wants him.
I mean, I get
Like-
that. I get that. That totally sorry. Hawaiian potato chip. Those Hawaiian potato chips.
Killer.
No.
Literally.
That tracks for me. It's just it doesn't make it less disappointing for me. I still would like to know that this character who's sort of transforming and and growing and becoming her own person and all these things can let go of that and is strong enough. Although, I also recognize that humans are humans, and so they do sometimes have the inability to do these types of things, like per what Mary brought up. There are some people in this world that just 100% they have a power over you. They don't know that, they may not know that they do. They do. You give them that power, but it's not something that you necessarily want to give them, but it just happens. And I've had people in my life that have been like that, and and so I should at the very least give Rory a little bit of a pass that she is also a human being, other than not just this super character that I want her to be.
She's a slightly
Welcome.
I was just gonna say she's a slightly young or maybe naive 19 as well. Like she just kind of hasn't really hit that real world reality of certain things, that she still kind of thinks of him as hers, and she knows he's married, but it doesn't really seem real to her. She doesn't agree with it, so she just thinks that it doesn't matter. I don't know, but sometimes I just think that the way she's acting is just because she's just kind of inexperienced in general.
We see Lorelai do a complete 180 in how she's interacting with Rory too. I mean, I know they made up, but still, I don't know, the way she's it's a sanctuary. You can eat anything you want. It's just all support, and I feel kind of babying her at this point. I'm curious if anybody has any, thoughts on that.
You said babying her, right? Like coddling?
Coddling, yes.
Agree.
I think that has more to do with the fact that Lorelai missed her than how Lorelai feels about what she did.
Well, I also think that she apologized to some extent. She said, I handled this totally wrong. I don't remember exactly what she said, but I think in acknowledging that she did the wrong thing to some extent, that kind of opened the door to more. But I agree that the distance was also part of it.
Yeah, I feel like even though Lorelai knows that Rory effed up, and Rory knows that she effed up, and I feel like it was a combination of that and the fact, like someone said, that she was gone the whole summer or however long it was. So parents are just, I wouldn't know, but parents are like that. They may be mad at you, but they're still your parent, and they still love you, and they still want you to want to be there in that moment when you're sad or hurt and stuff like that. And so I feel like as much as Lorelai maybe probably didn't want to, or probably shouldn't have babied her like that, it's Lorelai. We can't dismiss the fact that Lorelai is always going to be like that with Rory.
Yeah, I felt like when Rory kind of confesses to her she did everything wrong, and then follows it up with, I need you to do something for me, that moment, like it was just an interesting moment because I could kind of sense that Lorelai just didn't really think that that was a good idea. And she didn't want to do it for her, but she did it because she knew that like she kind of didn't want to have to continue, you know, she didn't want this rift between them to keep, you know, continue the way that it was. But I don't think that Lorelai wanted to do that for her because I don't think she thought it was right.
I feel like this episode just shows so many like contradictions, sort of like what you were just saying, John, with her having her mom do the letter for her. I mean, like we see Rory in Europe, we see her trying to like handle this adult situation, but then she passes it off to her mom, and then, you know, she's sort of being coddled by her mom in the diner, and then she's sort of shrinking, you know, in that interaction with Lindsay. And so I feel like it really kind of shows us that she might feel like she's an adult, but she's still very much acting like a child.
Yes.
So somebody had commented to me that just as a reminder that between last episode and this episode, it was 7 weeks, which is a long time for those two to not be together and to be in a fight, because they didn't really make up till right before she came home. So I would say they were fighting at least for 6 weeks.
By the way, reminder to Harvest Kernels, you only have 2 more minutes. Just for anyone who like forgot because they were being cool and not slamming the system at 8:50.
So we slam the system now.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, oh no, I just basically caused those.
Everybody waited at the same time, and not everyone's gonna do it at the same time.
Wait,
trying to prevent doing it.
I've already harvested.
Same.
Yeah, mine worked, John. I checked.
Ended at 10:30. My time. Interesting.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Besides Twitter DMs, what is the best way to get a hold of you? Because I see that like some people like DM you on like Facebook or what. So what's the best way to like get your attention?
I'd say right now probably Facebook is the format that people are using to get in touch with me. The easiest.
You're on Facebook?
Ooh, a Facebooker.
Yeah.
Okay,
so what does your profile picture look so I don't accidentally friend like?
Maybe you can find that in Facebook and we can get back to the conversation, please.
Yeah.
We'll
talk about
back
that
group as well.
But no need to be.
He's in the group, Tasha. So if you're in the group, you can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think you can search your members and he'll pop up. I think if you go to our search.
All right, I get it. I
completely forgot.
So did we talk about Luke and Lorelai at all yet in their
we haven't
reunion?
We haven't. For me it wasn't a super deep episode in regards to that, but I will say that like it's interesting that so much time seems to have gone by since that kiss, and you get the sense that they kind of both accept that they're, I guess, dating or doing something here, but we haven't seen anything, like not anything, no intimacy whatsoever in the slightest bit since that episode.
Hey John, you know what we call
They
that?
talked on the phone a lot. I mean, I think they implied with him telling her all about the Renaissance Festival gossip and stuff that I think we're supposed to believe that they must have been in regular contact by phone.
Yeah. But it does.
The whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It just feels odd. It feels interesting and strange that we just, as viewers, we haven't really been a part of that. But we're supposed to accept that they're together.
Hey John, you know what people call that sometimes?
What do they call it?
the talking stage. Oh, we're just talking.
Oh, we're just talking. Yeah, the talking.
We're just
stage.
talking. I mean, technically, they're just talking.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna. Okay. Sort of related, but not exactly on that topic. I keep thinking about how I feel like all this stuff is happening like around Lorelai, and it's interesting to me to see kind of how she's like deflecting certain situations and how she handles it. And I don't think anybody mentioned in the last episode. I think as far as we know, maybe I'm wrong. Like we haven't seen her talk to Rory about Luke at all. Like she didn't even, like she was trying to tell her that night, and then it just got completely cut off. And then she hasn't talked to Suki about what's, going on with Rory. She hasn't talked to Luke about that. So I don't know. I feel like this is the first time we're seeing her like really compartmentalize like that. I feel like she's usually like more of an open book in trying to work stuff out with everyone in her life.
I agree, and that's something that is something that I also sort of noticed is this fact that like Rory doesn't seem to be even a sliver a part of what's going on between Lorelai and Luke, like, which is also very odd, because even with like somebody like Alex, for example, you kind of got a sense that Rory kind of knew what was going on, but with Luke, it's really truly like feels like they're hiding it, even though it doesn't sound from the dialogue that that's really what's going on. Although they do kind of meet there behind that tree, which I guess it kind of suggests that they're keeping it a little bit on, sort of on the down low. But
it's funny, I mentioned in the episode that it seems that even Rory doesn't know what is happening. Because when they did the whole Jess and Rory thing, Lorelai was quite aware they were meeting up. But when Lorelai and Luke leave, Rory is in a totally different world and doesn't seem to be aware of anything of the connection. So is Lorelai keeping it from Rory as well at this point?
I thought at first like, oh, well, Lorelai is just keeping it from Rory. But then when Lane was talking to Rory about stuff with Zach, and she just seemed completely zoned out, I thought Rory is too busy thinking about what happened to even recognize what her mom is doing. That, and also she's so used to Lorelai and Luke talking the way that they talk. So then it's kind of like, I kind of assume that sometimes it's probably harder to realize that two people are in a relationship if they've been friends for a long time. That may be my perspective. Other people may be able to pick it up easier than me, but yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, there were so many things happening in this episode for Rory that, like, did she even have the mental capacity to realize what was going on with Lorelai?
Yeah, that's interesting.
She does at the end there when they're sitting on the couch. She does talk about Luke with that lady at the Renaissance fair, and Lorelai's like, I'll beat her up or something like that. And then Rory just kind of shrugged their shoulders, and it's basically about all there was to that. But I mean, she has to be kind of privy to what's up.
I think maybe if Rory wouldn't have been in the situation she was in, that like tormented situation with Dean when she got back from Europe, perhaps Lorelai would have been more excited to tell her, hey, I'm kind of dating Luke, like we're starting a relationship. But I think Lorelai maybe kind of held back a little and contained it because Rory is in that horrible situation.
Yeah. I that's sort of how I felt also in the last episode. I felt like that, like not exactly that, but that the dynamic of just the what had happened with Rory and how Lorelai reacted to it, and Lorelai's feelings about it, and the fact that they ripped, kind of like put a little bit of a damper into the whole like Luke and I might be actually a couple or going in that direction, which she would have probably been excited to tell Rory about in any other situation. But that all of this has really, in a way, it's kind of like, unfortunately, made it hard for Lorelai to like get excited about this thing with the person who she typically gets excited about things like this with, which is a little sad for Lorelai.
Well, and Lorelai did that once in the past with Rory And Dean, when she got back together with Max, she didn't tell Rory because Rory and Dean had just broke up. Like, she kept it in because Rory was having a sad time and relationship troubles. So she didn't want to share her exciting good news about her relationship.
Yep.
That's true. I noticed that Zach is in the room now. Was he going to be on the? Was he supposed to be on the couch? Am I making that up?
Yeah, he did make it in the room at least.
Oh, there you go.
I don't mind
Zach.
to come up here either because I was really supposed to anyways. But thank you, 8 pounds, 6 ounce newborn baby Jesus. I'm not sure what.
Sorry, I'm not charging you kernels for this, Zachary. Just so you know, we're at the end of the room now. Anyway, I'm about to jump off. I'm gonna make everyone moderators. At this point, you can all bring people up onto the couch as much you want and turn it into a sort of post show. We call it the after party, right? So now you guys are getting to the after party, and you can treat that however you would like. This was an interesting. It was an interesting first trial run here with the reservation system. It was cool that it actually forced us to a smaller post-show discussion, meaning like less people than we usually have. I liked that.
I like it too.
Yeah, me too.
I thought it was good, and I thought it was good for us, but I also think it probably was good for the audience as well. You know, I mean, the conversation bounced around a lot. Obviously, we had a lot of sections where we were talking about, you know, things that were not like completely unrelated, but, you know, technical or whatnot. That will kind of go away as we do these more. But I think that the system is cool. Obviously, it won't, you know, I mean, on an episode with like a, you know, big special guest, I imagine that, you know, the post show would probably be in just as much in demand as the watch, but hosts will be able to limit. So I might actually limit, even on special guest nights, I might limit the post show so that it's not 30 people, that it's something closer to around 20, which is what we had tonight. That was just good to see.
It felt a lot like week 1, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah. Yeah,
Man,
it was nice.
Back.
Are we
nice.
gonna do this this reserve a seat again tomorrow?
No, we are not. We are not. I have to go into the system. I got to take a look at things. I'm almost positive I know what's going on with the Diana double. I actually saw something weird in the database the other day and fixed it, and I'm pretty sure it was Diana's double that went in, and I fixed it rather than deleting it, which I should have just deleted it. And by fixing it, I basically fixed a double.
Diana's double.
Oh, double D.
No,
Well, I have an
no
evil
call.
twin out there, an evil twin in the deck.
Yeah. And it's a bummer that, I mean, you know, it's a bummer that like Zach, you couldn't get in. That's something that Mary suffered yesterday. She had to actually start another account in order to get in. That's happened to Sherry many times. It's just something that we kind of, it's a pain point that we're going to have to deal with for a bit, while I figure out how to give us another solution for just the whole chat part of this experience in general.
May I recommend though that all of us who are having trouble like send something to Clubhouse to let them know the stuff keeps happening? Because I did that yesterday. There's like a chat feature and there's no real chat, but you could give feedback on any subject. And I wrote a long thing of
you're like, and I gave them some feedback.
And I gave them some
Maybe if we all do that, then they'll like notice.
I mean, I don't know.
It's
They're
telling
like
that they don't have a report a bug feature. Like they clearly know there's issues because otherwise they'd be willing to let people report.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to remember this is a very heavily funded product that we are using. They're like they don't care about like little projects that are on their thing. Like they've got a vision for this, and you know, we just get caught up in all of their in their path to whatever Clubhouse is trying to do, you know, in the long term. It's more reason for me to want to get us our own solution, because we could find like overnight they make a decision on what they want to do with Clubhouse long term that just like kills everything what we're trying to do, you know. So the sooner that I can do that, of course, the better. Something else
If that were to happen,
Before you
recommend
go,
do
John.
something with like Google and like video or something. If
Yeah.
something like that happens.
Yeah. Before I go, what?
Someone in the chat mentioned, you said something about the banana move that you want.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like, so like, you know, a banana, I mean, it's not like an official name for it. It's just like, you'll hear like, you know, a director will tell you to like do a banana, or, you know, like banana, you know, and it's just an unnatural move. Like, I was sitting there, if you watch the scene again, I'm sitting there, I get up, I put my helmet on, and I walk forward when I could just turn and go right to the door right there. It's right next to me. But I actually walk forward and I banana, like I curve around and go straight into the door. That was a blocking move, just so that the actual, like, you know, the movement in the shot looked really cool, but it just is unnatural. I wouldn't have put my helmet on and walked forward a few steps only to turn and go into the door, you know. But it looked really graceful. It looked really nice, like everything moving around like that. And it gets me out there at a particular timing so that I can get on the bike, and then the bike can go back. We did that shot, man. I'm gonna guess we did that shot like 10 times, because that moment was that, or that last thing, it's all about timing. And me riding my bike back there in the background was like part of the whole choreography of the scene. And if people weren't out of the way and moving and didn't go back past at the right moment, we got to do it again.
It was hilarious.
And
I will.
Yeah, and I think that the director probably told me, like, you know, do like a banana move. You know, don't just turn and go to the door. I want you to like really like step forward and curve around. You know, and it required me to like put my helmet on in the right timing and step forward. You know, like you don't want me to do the helmet thing off camera. I have to still be on camera while I'm putting the helmet on. You know, so it's just choreography. It's business.
And the
it's
part
directing.
really small, bright helmet.
But that is directing. You know, that's not in the script. That's sort of the magic that a director brings to an episode. I can't remember who directed that episode, but that would have been their sort of that one of the little, you know, bits of artistic beauty that they bring to the episode. Because the directors like aren't really, you know, they're not really spending that much time with the actors. Like they're not they're not really spending that much time on the performance, I guess. They might give an actor like a little like, you know, give them a sense for something, you know, maybe they want the line set in a specific way, you know, but for the most part, TV directors sort of trust that the actors kind of get it. And especially with like, you know, the leads, these actors have been in the role for like years. You know, you're coming in as a new director, you wouldn't dream of like thinking you know that role better than they do, you know. So there's not really that much interaction from the director on that. You know, you would expect there to be, because like that's the way it is in theater. Directors are really like, you know, hands-on with the performance, and that's the way it is largely in film, or a lot of times in film, depending on the director. But in TV, it's not as common, you know, with the exception of maybe like something really small that they want that the timing to work out in a very particular way. But when it comes to the blocking, and that's why I pointed out a few moments throughout the watch of this where I've been like, oh, that's a director thing. That's a moment where the director got to like really like do something cool there that wasn't in the script, and that really came through in the blocking.
And for that episode, for that scene, you were being directed by Daniel Palladino.
Was that Daniel Palladino's episode?
I know it was written by him. I don't know if he was the director.
He was written and directed.
Oh, cool. Well, then that was Dan's. Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. And and that whole like Council of Nicaea thing. I mean, I loved that. I remember that. I mean, I had to say that thing at like a mile a minute. That was probably the fastest speaking that I do on the entire show, if I remember correctly. And it was really hard. Yeah, it was hard. I remember I was like, and if I hear it, I can hear that I'm like teetering on the cusp of like not quite like of maybe like tongue twisting or stumbling. And it's possible that I had some takes that I did tongue twist. And it's cool. And I remember that little moment being really, just like I seem to even remember Dan coming over and talking to me about it, because that was like, I feel like that was really, that whole thing was, that whole like Council of Nicaea thing, it was like really big in pop culture at the time because Da Vinci Code had just come out or one of those books had just come out and it was like,
I think that's what Zach is explaining to the girls when he's talking about Mary and all of that. He's telling them the story of the.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that was like really big in pop culture. So that's clearly what I was like referencing, was like all of that like stuff that was really, really big at the time. That Dan Brown, is that who that is?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All that Dan Brown stuff was like really big back then. I think that's what Dan was channeling there, with that pop culture-ness. And I seem to remember Dan and I actually like having a little conversation or something on set about it. Anyway, cool episode. National French Fry Day. Wink Winkers made an appearance.
This was a good time.
This was fun. I'm making everyone moderators and then I'm heading off. One thing that I will say to our audience, if you enjoyed this post-show discussion or the watch section of this, consider tipping some of these fine people with some of the kernels that you have earned tonight by attending. Tipping people gives them the fuel that they need to reserve seats on couches and give you some of this lovely insight that you had tonight. Just something that I keep wanting to remind folks, especially the folks who are earning kernels but don't really feel comfortable coming up onto the couch. There's a way for you to contribute to what we're creating here by tipping those that are up here contributing verbally.
Yeah. John. Oh wait. Go ahead, Kathy.
It's just really quick. Everybody was talking about like the director and stuff, and I remember at the beginning of the episode seeing Jane's and Stan's name as consulting producers.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah.
Very, very cool. All right, everyone. I'm off. Oh, did somebody else have a question?
No. I was just gonna because I was just gonna add something about my fast talk, like with the scene with like Lindsay's mom and like Rory and Lorelai and stuff. I think that scene, I wanted to say, from my fast talk, like that, it was originally supposed to be a two-parter, right? So I was gonna give preface on Dean and his upbringing and whatnot, and then how that played into his marriage, right? And so then my argument was gonna be how Lindsay's parents were the ones who were more involved and perpetuated the marriage. And I just wanted to say that the scene with Lindsay's mom perfectly encapsulated that. So that's what cool. I wanted to you off on.
That's very cool. Something else that I wanted to mention really quickly before I go, that I just reminded me, not specifically on that, but just that in the sense that that's awesome. And I hope somebody throws you a little kernel your way, or 2 kernels or 20 kernels or whatever. But if people do tip you kernels now, there's 2 new features that I added today. One, you can see now all the tips that you've ever given to other people. They're now in that same section where you can see other people's tips that come into you, like tips that people give to you. And that little section now has a third little tab that allows you to see all tips that you have sent out to someone. And if you get a tip from someone, you can, in the detail page of that tip, you can now press a little heart button, and it sends them a message on their tip, that page where they can see all of their tips. They can now see a little thank you from you.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Yeah, so that's brand new. Somebody else today also mentioned something that you all might not know, which is somebody was having a hard time understanding where their kernel balance was on their profile. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like right there. And then I asked them to show me a picture of their profile. And they were in the settings mode of their profile and didn't realize that you can tap that little gear icon in the upper right to switch between settings and your profile. So if you're in settings mode, you're obviously not going to see your kernel balance. So that's just something that might be good for some folks to know who are in the app and just didn't have any idea that there are two different views for your profile. There's settings view, and then there's the normal view. And if you're in settings view and have been in settings view for a while and you just didn't realize that there was another view, tap the little gear icon in the upper right-hand corner of your profile and it'll switch over and you will see your kernel balance. Also, you might not realize that your kernel balance is now a little button. If you press that button, it takes you into the screen that I was just referring to, where you can see all new tips that come in. You can see all tips that you've sent out to people, etc.
Okay, so why is it that today is Tuesday, but I can't get, I can only schedule something up till Saturday? Why can't I schedule it on Sunday?
You can. That's another little quirk that people sometimes don't realize. When you open up that little calendar view, if you tap on the date that's at the top, it brings up another little mini calendar that allows you to schedule past this week. So when you tap the little event thing in, like when you're creating an event and you tap the little thing to like add your date, you'll see that 1 week there, Shauna. But then at the top, you'll see a little date. And if you tap that date, it'll open up another little calendar that shows you the whole month. Is that clear?
I'm trying to make it clear. I'm just trying to play around with it. Oh, yes. There it is.
There you go. All right, everybody. We'll see each other again tomorrow at 7 p.m. I think that we have a special guest coming up this week. Do we?
Yep.
Yes.
Stan on Saturday.
Stan on Saturday. Fun. All right. I'll see you then. Thanks everyone for joining me.
Thanks, John.